Honda's rugged Radial Four Valve Combustion Chamber RFVC thumper has survived for more than 4 decades. We're about to take a journey, a deep dive into a legendary Honda motorcycle engine that has withstood the test of time. First appearing in 1983 and still the heart of today's XR650L dual sport icon, the Honda Radial Four Valve Combustion Chamber engine has delivered tremendous reliability and value in both XR and XL models. Various single-cylinder Enduro and dual sport XR and XL models have featured RFVC four-valve head technology, including the XR200R in 1984 and 1985, the 250R, 350R, 500R, 600R, 400R, and the 650L. To understand the unique RFVC engines, let's walk through a brief history. By the early 80s, the Honda CR, Elsinore, and XR dirt bikes were fiercely competitive at desert enduro and motocross racing. Dual Sport XL motorcycles were selling well for basic transportation and recreational use. Introduction of the patented ProLink monoshock rear suspension was a leap forward for improved handling and stability control in rough and loose terrain, giving Honda a chassis and suspension design that could compete with world-class European and other Japanese motorcycles at races as challenging as the Paris-Dakar and Baja. The two-stroke Elsinore and CR models competed at short-course motocross and twisty woods racing. For Hare and Hound in the longer open desert races, it was time to take advantage of Honda's unbreakable overhead camshaft four-stroke engine technology. The rugged bottom end and gear train were proven. Focus turned to the induction system and combustion chamber. The aim was improving the intake flow, enhancing the burn, and aiding the exhaust scavenging. Research led to an air-cooled thumper single with an unusual radial four-valve combustion chamber cylinder head that proved to be a game-changer. The 1983 XL600R and the 1983 XR350R and XR500R models launched the era of the RFVC engine. I own two 1984 Honda XR Enduros, an XR350R, and an XR500R. The RFVC cylinder head positions the two intake and exhaust valves radially, creating a hemispherical combustion chamber. Hemi engines have stronger lower end to mid-range torque. Although any Honda four-stroke overhead camshaft engine can reach impressive RPM peaks for superior power, the RFVC engine proved optimal for open desert racing at even GNCC mixed terrain. Rugged and tenacious among air-cooled motorcycle engines, the RFVC single survived well in a wide range of hard-ridden XR and XL models. To date, every RFVC model has been carbureted and boasts distinctive dual exhaust head pipes. Like the popular XL models, the XR650L has been a street-legal Honda mainstay dual sport since 1993. In modern trim, this affordable model is still sold new at Honda dealerships. The 80s and 90s were rife with big displacement two-stroke engines known for their tire-spinning torque. Mako, Husqvarna, KTM, Suzuki, Yamaha, and Kawasaki offered ultra-high torque singles that tore up race courses. Honda kept pace with a CR250 and a big-bore CR500. In all-out competition, Kawasaki emerged as the ultimate hellraiser for desert races like Baja. The two-stroke KX500 landed on the podium for years, and Honda's respectable CR500 two-stroke gradually gave way to the RFVC XR500R and XR600R. Ultimately, the liquid-cooled XR650R, affectionately nicknamed the Big Red Pig, would reign supreme at open desert racing. The XR650R engine departed from the air-cooled RFVC design and uses a conventional four-valve pent-roof cylinder head. For anyone with two-stroke experience, it's no surprise that a competitive four-stroke would win out in long races like the Baja. Larger displacement, fuel-guzzling two-strokes made tremendous strides in the open desert, but spent way too much time refueling at extra pit stops. Four-stroke thumpers with higher horsepower and more usable torque became the winning combination for these races. Honda's XR600R with an air-cooled RFVC engine, battling with the KX500 Kawasaki, won the 1986, 1987, 1997, and 1998 Baja 1000 races. Ridden by Johnny Campbell in 1998, The XR600R gave way the next year to Honda's new liquid-cooled XR650R. Campbell led the charge as the XR650R became the ultimate formula for beating big two-strokes and all other competition. RFVC carburation has been a controversy. Honda knew from extensive engine development that a dual carburetor system with a primary and secondary carburetor would deliver maximum off-idle and bottom-end power plus the necessary air and fuel flow for sustained open throttle performance. Fuel efficiency could be gained by having twin carburetors with more precise, smaller venturi areas and a dual-port induction cylinder head. The dual-carbureted 1983 XL600R and 1983 and 1984 XR350R and XR500R RFVC thumpers each have two intake ports with a unique reed valve between them to help balance and stabilize air-fuel mixture flow across all throttle positions. Dual-carbureted RFVC models also include the 1984 and 1985 XR200R, the 1985 XR250R, the 1983 to 1987 XL600R, and the 1985 to 1987 XR600R. While these models all have two intake ports and twin carburetors, the reed valve is only used on the XL and XR350R, XL and XR500R, and the XL and XR600R through 1984. The reed valve is not used on the 1984 XR200R, nor any dual-carbureted RFVC engine built after 1984. These early RFVC single-cylinder engines introduced dual carburetors to thumpers, racers, desert riders, and trail runners. While the feature made distinct power gains, Honda got pushback from dirt riders and service techs who were more familiar with a single carburetor thumper. Rumors spread about throttle lag and poor transitions between the primary and secondary carburetor, which I've never experienced. The round slide dual carburetor system is just one carburetor at idle and low throttle opening. The primary carburetor is specifically designed with an idle circuit and choke, pilot jet and a main jet. The secondary carburetor has no choke, no idle circuit, and only a main jet. It comes online at a precise throttle opening and feeds additional air fuel into a second intake port at the cylinder head. The reed valve maintains an even flow. The key to optimal smooth performance with the dual carburetors is precise throttle valve synchronizing. On this dual carburetor system, the throttle valves are mechanically controlled and staged. At a specific throttle opening on the primary carburetor, the secondary carburetor begins to open. Properly adjusted, the secondary linkage assures that both carburetors will be fully open at wide open throttle. In the Honda shop manual, we find detailed adjustments for the primary and secondary carburetors, including the throttle cable, idle stop screw, and, most importantly, the point where the secondary carburetor kicks in. I am very familiar with multiple carburetor tuning and syncing on motorcycle engines, having worked on British, European, and Japanese multi-cylinder engines with multiple carburetors. If you need insight here, let me know in the comments. If there is sufficient interest, I will gladly produce a video on tuning multi-carbureted cycle engines. Both of my 1984 Honda XR bikes with RFVC engines have dual carburetors and an intake reed valve. Honda bent to the pressure of the naysayers and opted for a single carburetor with a single intake port on the last XR350R in 1985. The XR and XL600R used dual carburetors through 1987, eliminating the reed valve after 1984. My 1984 models, when properly staged and tuned with their dual carburetor systems, have several advantages. These 1984 bikes kickstart easily, idle smoothly, and have seamless transitions between the two carburetors. Fuel efficiency is excellent and more manageable, a big plus for remote backcountry and open desert riding or hare and hound racing. The key to unleashing the early RFVC strong, steady pull from off-idle to redline is to blueprint tune the two stock KN carburetors. This includes proper slow and main jetting, the correct needles and needle positions, the right idle mixture setting on the primary carburetor, correct end play for the throttle cable, and staging the mechanical linkage to establish a precise kick-in point for the secondary carburetor. Arguably, having only one carburetor does speed up troubleshooting and repairs. A single carburetor, despite its more primitive flow characteristics, is simpler to diagnose and fix. For quick tuning a single-cylinder engine at the race circuit pits, a single carburetor is easier. The 1985 XR350R, the 1986 up XR250R, the 1988 up XR600R, and all XR400R Enduro bikes feature a single KN round slide carburetor. Dual Sport XR650L models have always featured a constant velocity carburetor for smoother, less finicky street performance. Unlike a mechanical slide carburetor, the CV with a vacuum piston also provides better altitude compensation and more consistent fuel mileage. The Honda XR performance accomplishments were many. Larry Rossler won the Baja on a Honda XR500R, followed by an air-cooled XR600R edging out the KX500 Kawasaki bikes. Johnny Campbell rode a winning air-cooled XR600R with RFVC engineering before cinching his wins with a string of victories on liquid-cooled pent-roof cylinder head XR650R bikes. The XR400R continued the RFVC air-cooled racing tradition through 2004 as Honda transitioned fully into the new CRF 450R and the 450X models.
Clear it a couple kicks, nice and gentle. Just like that. Go!
Honda's air-cooled RFVC XR400R features a highly efficient factory oil cooler that complements the in-frame dry sump oiling system. Proof of RFVC dependability and success is the XR650L. With a tubular steel frame and ProLink rear suspension, similar to the XL, XR500, and 600 models, the proven ProLink chassis dates back to the early 80s. The newest 2026 XR650L boasts an air-cooled dry sump RFVC engine that still meets emission standards and fuel efficiency requirements with a single KN-CV carburetor. This electric start legacy bike could survive indefinitely with nothing more than overdue EFI. If the XR650L gets EFI in the next few years, this popular and affordable dual sport icon, let's call it a lighter weight ADV by today's standards, will remain a strong seller. I've rolled the 84 XR500R into the shop for its long overdue step-by-step restoration. This build will benefit all riders and professional or DIY techs working on 1983 to the present Honda RFVC models. Seasoned motorcyclists and entry-level enthusiasts seeking affordable off-road and dual sport motorcycles can readily find a restorable Honda air-cooled XR XL bike with RFVC. If a new, reasonably priced RFVC is more to your liking, the XR650L remains popular. With the XR650L in production since 1993, OEM parts availability is still good. As we walk through the XR500R engine, transmission, and chassis build, you'll get a close-up look at the inner workings and design features of these virtually bulletproof Honda motorcycles. I'll share best practices and factory steps for restoring an air-cooled RFVC engine, gear train, ProLink suspension, Showa fork, the tubular steel frame, disc and drum brakes, Enduro electrics, and the final drive system. 42 years old as this project begins, my XR500R's previous life was serving a hardcore Southern California desert rider. With this restoration, the bike will again be a great open desert enduro machine. Given its performance potential, the XR500R serves as a prototype for what many view as Honda's most reliable and durable dirt motorcycles. Carefully restored, the air-cooled XR500R will be ready for decades more of dependable service, recreational riding, and who knows, maybe even a hare and hound race. It's stablemate. The 84 Honda XR350R RFVC Enduro has not required major work since I purchased that bike in the mid-90s. If you want reliability, spirited performance, and dependable off-road motorcycling at a reasonable cost, come along for the RFVC ride.